Good evening, everybody. How are we this evening? Hope we're all well. Who do we have here? Assalamu alaikum. Alaikum salam, ya Matthew. How are you? I hope you're well. Hi, Sir John. You okay? Hey, Rosemary. How are you this evening? I hope you're well. You have to excuse me. I'm in a different location today. I bet you can't guess where I am. We'll just wait a couple more minutes to see who else pops on. If you pop into the chat, just say hi, and then I can, we can say hi to you at the same time. So let's have a look and see who we've got here tonight, shall we? Hi, Terry. How are you this evening? Hope you're well. Thank you for joining. You have to excuse my wild and woolly-ness this evening. I'm looking a little bit dishevelled as usual. No change there then, I know. Thank you. Hi. Hi, Ronnie. How are you? Hey, Jane. How are you? Oh, it's so nice to have you all here. We've got 12 of us in tonight, which is absolutely incredible. So fantastic so far. It's smoky in Portland. It's so smoky. Why is it so smoky? Do I don't want to know? Hey, hey, Mark. How are you? You okay? From sunny Spain. Have you got your breath back? That's what inquiring minds would like to know. Okay, so let's get started, shall we? So for all of you that are new to this channel, my name is Lesley Hammam. I spent 25 years in Egypt and learnt an awful lot about the ancient Egyptians. Hey, Kate, how are you? My goodness, how are you? You all right? Hey, Esther. My God. How are you? We need to have another catch up soon. That's Katie, by the way, and everybody else, obviously, but Katie especially. 25 years in Egypt, got totally obsessed with ancient Egypt and everything ancient Egyptian, and I like to specialise in giving virtual tours from the videos of my time when I was in Egypt, and then sometimes doing live streams as well, and just basically giving you some history of some of the places that I visited, but also about my interpretation of the subject matter that we're talking about. So if you've got any questions, do feel free to ask in the chat, and I will do my best to answer as many as I possibly can as we go along. Oregon is on fire, at least a lot of it. Oh no, well, Terry, I hope you're staying safe, and please do stay safe out there, won't you? So what tomb are we going to be investigating tonight? So we are going to go to the tomb of Nefertari. Nefertari was the wife of Ramses II, the great pharaoh, as he likes to call himself, but she was his primary wife. It's a very, very interesting tomb. Probably one of the best preserved tombs in the Valley of the Kings and Queens. I would say, for me, it comes second to Seti I's tomb. Seti I is always going to be one of my favourites. Ironically, Seti I was Ramses II's father. But I do love the colours in this one. It's a smallish tomb. So what I think we'll do first is, before we go into the slideshow and I can show you different parts of the tomb, let's go into the video of it first, because that way then you can get to see the actual tomb itself. Okay, so I'm not going to say anything while you're watching the video, so sit back and enjoy the video, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go through the actual tomb itself bit by bit at the end. Okay, so enjoy. If you've got any questions, please do pop them in the chat and I can answer those as we go along. Okay, so that was the beautiful tomb of Nefertari. Now, hold on, let's just go to the slideshow, which is here. Let's just put a stop on that for un secondo. So the tomb was actually discovered by an Italian archaeologist who was excavating in the Valley of the Queens in 1904. They actually found the entrance, the first steps of the tomb, and it was Ernesto. I'm going to absolutely butcher this. So Mark Baldwin, I know you're listening to me. Please don't come for me because I can't say his name properly. So Ernesto, I'm going to try and, you know what, I'm going to put his name in the chat so I don't have to say it, because that's going to make my life a lot easier, and then I don't have to make myself look a fool. So bear with me. So this is, hold on. Oh. Hold on, I'm putting it in the chat, bear with me. That's his second name. That's how you say his surname. So Ernesto is his first name, and that is his second name that's in the chat there now. Okay, so he discovered his tomb in 1904, and he was a professor of Egyptology of the University of Turin. Now, if any of you know, Turin is one of the biggest Egyptological collections outside of Egypt today, holding over 40,000 pieces of archaeology there at the Turin Museum. If you've never been and you want something spectacular to go see, you just really, really go and see this too, because it's absolutely fantastic, this museum. So fantastic that I cried when I went there, and that's saying something, because it does take a lot to get me quite emotional about things. But there were so many things in this museum that I'd never seen anywhere else. It was just incredible. So he was allowed to start excavating in the Valley of the in the Valley of the Queens around 1903, where he got permission from the Egyptian authorities to be able to exclusively excavate in the Valley of the Queens. And it was the next year when he actually found the steps leading down into the tomb itself. Okay, so a flight of stairs is cut out of the rock and gives access to the antechamber. So let's just go into the slideshow a little bit. So this is the entrance that you see today. Now, the Valley of the Queens, you have to get, if this is on a special ticket, you can't just go into this tomb on the normal Valley of the Queens ticket. It is an extra ticket, roughly 2,000 Egyptian pounds to go in to the tomb. Don't ask me what the exchange rate is today, because I can't remember. It's about 63 Egyptian pounds to 1 English pound, so something like that. So you have to go in on a special ticket, and they roughly only allow about 150 people into this tomb every day. The reason for that is because we want to keep the humidity in the tomb to a low, because there was a stage where they were finding that you were getting fungus on the walls and like a mold, and that was destroying the actual paintings. I truly believe this tomb will not be open forever. So if you haven't actually seen it in all its glory in person, you need to get over there as soon as you can. You're only allowed to stay in, as that sign says, for 10 minutes at a time, because, as I said, of the humidity and the fact, because we're breathing out moisture, and this can actually have a massive effect on the colours. And as you saw from the video, it is an extremely colourful tomb. It is beautiful. It's just vibrant colours in there. So this is how the layout of the tomb looks. So you come down that staircase into the antechamber, and then you have some rooms at the top there. Then you go down a second set of stairs into the burial chamber at the bottom. Now, it is not, as I said, the biggest tomb in the world, but it is highly decorated, only coming second, in my opinion, to that of Seti, the first tomb in the Valley of the Kings. So looking from above, you can see the entrance staircase going down into the tomb. Then you have the antechamber, the vestibules, the first eastern access, going down into the second then stairway. Then you've got the burial chamber, you've got the southeastern access, the western access, and the northern access. And these would have been little rooms that would have had furniture, would have had your shabtis, would have had clothing, would have had all the things that a queen would have needed to go into the afterlife. This is the one thing about this tomb which is incredible, is the way it is decorated, which we're going to get into next. So you first a stairway into the tomb. The first room is the antechamber. In the tomb of Nefertari features vibrant wall paintings from the chapter 17 of the Book of the Dead and famous paintings of Nefertari playing a board game. The board game of Senet. It's one of the most famous images actually from the tombs that we see today, and it's just so relaxed. You don't actually see this very much in tombs. Not the royal tombs anyway. Usually it's all about the Book of the Dead, Book of Gates, how they're going to get their way into the afterlife afterwards. But in this one, there's a bit of a fun element to it where she is playing board games, she's conversing with the gods. It's just incredible the way this tomb is actually laid out. So you also have her depicted with different deities in here as well. So this is the famous one of her playing Senet, the board game Senet, and this is in the first antechamber. So as soon as you go in, you see this image pretty much. And then you've got the vestibule, and then you have the I think to say the northern axis on this. So if you are only allowed to spend 10 minutes, does that mean it is a flying visit, or can you go in and out? You can go in and out. 10 minutes is a fairly good time. As I said, it's not the biggest tomb in the world, so unless you're kind of like me and taking photos of every single inch of the tomb, 10 minutes is more than enough. It is a bit, the tomb guardians, they can be a bit lax. They're not, unless it's a very busy day, they're not very, very strict on it. You can get 15, maybe 20 minutes at a push. But if it is a very busy day with lots of people going in, 10 minutes is your lot. You can't be guided down there. So your guide will give you all the information about the tomb before you go in. And then it's basically about you wandering around and having a look around the tomb after that. Hi, Sarah. Don't worry. Glad you could make it. It's nice to have you here. So, I mean, look at the colours here. You have Nefertari in front of the god Osiris there. So it's beautiful the way this is done. And the one thing I love about this tomb, you see on the right hand side of the picture there, you have this kind of like what looks like a tubey thing or a little pillar. It is called a jed pillar. Okay, so it's a sign of stability, or the sign for stability. And the colours here are just out of this world. They're unbelievable, beautiful colours, and it's just very vibrant. And when you see computer generated images of the temples and the tombs being recreated, they always come through a bit gaudy and a bit garish, don't they? But when you actually go in and see it like this, it's just beautiful. It looks like it had just been painted. Has it been restored? No, it hasn't been restored. This is original. So you do have bits that have been sort of like cleaned up a little bit, but the colours on the walls are original. It's all original. Because at the end of the day, we wouldn't know how to paint it, because we wouldn't know how to. Sorry, the first one was Ptah. This is Osiris here. Sorry, we wouldn't know how to imitate those colours. We know they're made from like the colours of red and yellow ochre, from lapis lazuli, from turquoise, and it's crushed down and made into these paints that we see in front of us, but we aren't able to make those as vibrant as they did back then. So this is still the small antechamber at the top. It's just beautiful. Look at her dress and how the illusion of it being a see-through material on her. I just think it's just incredible the way they've managed to do these. So then we've got the second staircase. Okay, so this is coming down into the burial chamber. So the staircase has 7.5 meters long, descending 18 steps with a central ramp. Now, the central ramp was probably to help guide things down into the tomb to make it easier for getting things in to there. You've got on the wall paintings, the iconography, you've got the guardians and deities drawn on each side for the transitions going through into the netherworld, including the jackal god Anubis guarding the necropolis. You've got the goddesses depicted, Isis and Nephthys, along with Selkis and Mut, spreading protective wings. You've got sacred symbols in there. You've got all sorts going on just in the stairwell. So this is just the staircase going down, okay? So And then you've got some spells, magical spells and extracts from the Book of the Dead in here as well. So again, you have the Jed pillar, you've got Isis and Nephthys here. And then this is the other side of the wall. So she's giving, this is like offerings as we're going down there as well. Different goddesses here too. And the ceiling, just the ceiling with all the stars is just absolutely incredible. The detail, the attention to detail here is just astounding. Now we're getting into the burial chamber. So this is where her sarcophagus would have been. Unfortunately, when they opened the tomb, it had already been emptied out of most of its wares, and they found a couple of mummified body parts still in the tomb, which we believe could possibly be Nefertari's, but we're not 100% sure, which is a real shame. So, you know, her body had been desecrated as well, which is terrible. So the burial chamber, as I said, KV66 is the tomb, and it's roughly 90 square meters in a quadrangle room. It features 4 decorated central pillars, as we can see from the picture, with astrological ceiling with the gold stars. And we've got scenes from the Book of the Dead all around the sides. The pillars, 4 massive painted pillars supporting the ceiling. The floor, central floor area where the Queen's pink granite sarcophagus originally rested, sits slightly lower than the surrounding sections, but you can't actually see that too well inside because obviously we've got the wooden floor in there to protect the actual floor underneath. You've got rock cut benches. Long low benches are cut into the rock alongside the 4 rooms to hold funeral offerings and equipment. And then you've got the annexes as well, which with sacred geography to the underworld. So you've got the Golden Hall. The ancient Egyptians viewed this as the lowest chamber, as the sacred place of regeneration, generation, where the Queen's spirit was transformed and was able to go into the afterlife. You have the Book of the Dead chapters. The walls display spells and gateways from chapters 144 and 146, detailing secret doors of the afterlife and the guardians required for safe passage. And then you have the divine guardians depictions of the gods like Osiris, Anubis, Hathor, and specialized gate guardians with daggers line the walls to protect the Queen herself. Okay, so we have an awful lot of things going on in this tomb. Again, that ceiling is just spectacular. So we have the gods, some of the gods on the goddesses on the pillars here. We have all these wonderful things. Now, the one thing that I love about this tomb, and when I waited 22 years before I actually went into this tomb, 22 years, because I thought it was very expensive. And as a lot of you know, I'm not the biggest fan of Ramses II, so wasn't a big fan of his wife at the time either, especially when he, like, you know, big ups himself and it's just like, I've had over 150 children and all the rest of it, and married to all these women, and all this, and he stole an awful lot of statues and things and parts of temples. And for me, Ramses II was probably one of the biggest narcissists of the ancient world. I mean, he really did love himself. And I thought, well, his queen's got to be the same. You know, if you look at Akhenaten and Nefertiti, you know, Ramses II seems to be the same, cut from the same cloth, right? Now, I might be a little bit wrong about this, even though when you go to Egypt and you listen to the guys going round, they will say, oh, it's the biggest love story of all time. Nefertiti, which means the most beautiful among them, that's what her name was, what's the meaning of her name. And, you know, the fact that Ramses II referred to his wife as the one for whom the sun shines. And he built, according to history, the temple in Abydos, Abyssimbel for her. Yes, he did build the temple in Abyssimbel, but again, we can do another tour about that, which explains my theories on that. I don't think Nefertari was that keen on her husband, to be perfectly honest. Why do I say that? Well, when you go into this tomb, the one thing that's missing, of all things, is her husband's name. he doesn't seem to get a mention that I've read yet. I could be wrong. There might be a hieroglyphic with Ramses II's name on it, but I have yet to find it. Yeah, he's not mentioned in there. So when I went into the tomb after 22 years of waiting not to go into this tomb, it was a special birthday present for me. So I went in, had a look round, and I was just like, this is very interesting. It's a fabulous tomb. When I came out, there was a look of confusion on my face, and I was asked, what's the matter? And I said, there is something very wrong, not wrong, but something missing within this tomb. And I couldn't put my finger on it for love nor money. Couldn't understand what was missing at all. And then it was like Ramses's image and his name is not in the tomb. Her children are not in there either. So very interesting that she has gone to the afterlife and basically not taken a husband with her. Now, don't get me wrong, there might be funeral objects with him on, with his name on, so she took him that way, but she has neglected to paint anything with him on in her tomb. She probably knew he was a joke. Totally agree with you, Terry. Totally agree. So this started my theory that actually it wasn't a bed of roses in the Ramses household back then, and that Nefertari was just a little bit annoyed with him specifically. So I do believe that actually Nefertari wanted to go into the afterlife and she didn't want to take Ramses with her. That's why she didn't put his name in the tomb at all. So some funerary things were found within the tomb. And just little bits and pieces were found in there. Actually, there were there was I think there was like a table that was found, and it had the name of the pharaoh his name was on there, which meant that it could have meant that she was related to in some way, which would make an awful lot of sense. But there was, again, a lot of things missing. This tomb had unfortunately been ransacked during antiquity. Yeah, she was his most favourite wife. But why? Why was she his favourite wife? Could it be because she actually brokered the very first peace treaty in history? So that's why she was his favourite wife. She saved his life. She stopped him from being slaughtered by I think it was the Hyksos. So she actually saved him by creating this peace treaty. She saved him by writing to the queen of the Hyksos at the time and saying, my sister, kind of like in a roundabout, I'm kind of like paraphrasing here, but forget what the men are saying. Let's talk about it for a bit amongst ourselves. Let's come to an agreement. They did come to an agreement, and then peace reigned after that. So it was her that actually brokered the first peace treaty. The peace treaty is written on the wall in Karnak Temple. You can go and see a copy of it. And there is also the original, I think it's the original one, is actually standing in the UN, as you go in through the door. So the very first peace treaty brokered in history was actually made by a woman and not by a man. It wasn't by the pharaoh, it was by his wife. And this is why I think he felt he had to build her a temple, and he did it in Abu Simbel, but she never set one foot inside the temple in Abu Simbel, because I do believe that, because he did said, and again, the guides will tell you this, Nefertari stands higher than her husband. The only thing that is higher than her husband is the plumage on her head. Not herself, her actual physical body does not stand higher than her husband, only the fact that her headdress is slightly taller than her husband's. If you look at the image of the temple in Abu Simbel, I think she got all the way down there, had a look, went, absolutely not, because all she had to do was look over to her left, and he has built a temple 5 times bigger than hers. It's massive. If you look at the temple of Abu Simbel, it is absolutely massive. She's looked at hers, gone, well, is that all I get? I should have had the big one. You should have had the small one. What are you talking about? And it was said that she said that she was so ill she couldn't go in and see what he'd done for her, and she demanded to be sailed back to Luxor. When she got back to Luxor, she died. So that's just like a mic drop moment for me. It's like, you absolute, in the words of Terry, jerk, you have literally said that you were going to build me something. You decided that you were going to still make it better than mine. And now, you know, I don't even want to go in there. Thanks very much, but I'm done. Peace out. And then she died. And this is another reason why I don't think she took him with her into the afterlife. I think she was just like, yeah, I'm done. I do not want to be joined at the hip with this man whatsoever. It was, Sarah, absolutely. It was her that saved him most of the time. So, you know, for all his bravado and the fact that I am the best at the best and I'm really brilliant at this and da, he wasn't that brilliant at all, actually. It was because he had the support of a very strong wife behind him. So who was she? We don't really know. We can only speculate. A lot of people do believe that she was possibly from Upper Egypt, which gave her big standing and why she was so popular. But also too, we're not sure. She could have been a foreign princess as well, for all we know. We don't know for sure. She is very much an enigma, like Nefertiti, where she seems to come in, dominate an awful lot of that part of history, and then just disappears, where there's not much of where she came from and where she went to. Well, we know where she went to, but you see what I mean. We don't really know much about her, which seems to be a bit of a theme where the queens are concerned, because, you know, in ancient Egypt, unless you usurped, we'll use that term lightly, usurped the throne, you were not going to, nobody really knew much about you. You know, you weren't that important. You were there to breed the heirs and be the face of, or the partner for Pharaoh, and that's what your job was. So now we've gone through each stage of this, the tomb. Let's go back to the video again and re-watch the video again from the beginning, so that you can see, and then you can see the parts that I've picked out and we've talked about as we've gone on. I'll turn the sound down a little bit. Now, if you've got any questions, now's the time to ask me any of the questions to do with the tomb at all, and I will do my best to answer them as we go along. Don't forget, this tour today is absolutely free, but if you would like to buy me a coffee, please do. All you have to do is go to the link that I'm going to post in the chat momentarily, and then buy me a coffee there. Also too, this is where you can find what tours are coming up in the future. It's looking a bit sparse at the moment because I have been very busy with my day job, but I will be putting some new tours on there too, where we're going to be going into more of the God series. We'll be looking closer at the queens as well, and taking, maybe we'll go back to the earlier queens, and also too we'll be going and looking at more temples along Egypt and around Egypt, and the tombs too, as well as the nobles. Again, the fact that every single aspect of this tomb is decorated, I am just so happy that this didn't get destroyed. Yes, it was robbed of all its beauty, all its, you know, its gemstones, its furniture, you know, even the mummy was taken away from this tomb. But at least the paintings are still there for us to just marvel at, and they didn't get destroyed too badly. There are some sections of the tomb that have been destroyed. Some of it is because of, you know, history and it falling to pieces, having this mold issue, but the fact that it's still so beautiful today is just remarkable, that it's managed to survive so long. Totally agree with you, Rosemary. Absolutely. And to think this is all organic colouring. So this is all colours taken from nature. Nothing is processed. It is all either coloured stone or the coloured stone that has been ground down. This is possibly why it's managed to survive so long. So there you go, guys. That is the tomb of Nefertari. So does anybody else have any questions they'd like to ask me before we bring this tour to a close this evening? It's only a shortish one this evening because it is, as I said, a smaller tomb. We don't know an awful lot about it. There is a lot, you know. We could go into the ins and outs and the story of Nefertari, but I wanted to focus more on the tomb. What does it cost to get into this tomb? Hi, Sally. Oh, now I'm going to say it was 1,500 Egyptian pounds, but let me just double check for you now. Because I think somebody told me it had gone up to 2,000 Egyptian pounds. Hold on a minute, I can't spell. Let me have a look at the ticket prices. Bear with me a second. As the ticket price is, let me have a look. I'm only getting. It is about 1,500 to 2,000 Egyptian pounds, which in English money is. Let's have a look. Let me do some calculations for you. If we say 2,000 Egyptian pounds, it's about 31 English pounds ish. That's British pound sterling for that. So that's to get into the tomb of Nefertari. Oh, it's okay, Judith. Is it because of the darkness that the colours are well preserved? It's because it was totally sealed, so it was airlocked. That's why it was so well preserved. If you notice, when you go down into the tomb, the lighting is very, it's not like stark lighting. They've kept it the lighting very low lighting, and that is to help preserve it as well, because you don't want any UV lights going in there at all, so that's to protect it as well, along with the fact that you're only allowed in there at 10 minutes at a time. It also helps preserve the tomb a lot better. Yeah, but as I said, I don't think it will be open forever. I think it will end up being shut at some point just to preserve it for a little bit longer. So if you do have the opportunity to go there, you're going to Egypt, do go and see Nefertari's tomb before you can't go any longer, because it's going to be a shame when it does go. So, as I said, if you want to see what tours are coming up, go to my Buy Me a Coffee page. You can have a look in the shop area there, or extras, I think I called it. So you can go in there. I try to update things as quickly as I can. I will be putting some more tours on very soon. I'm in Scotland at the moment, going home tomorrow, so I have been a little bit busy, so I will try and get those updated as quickly as possible. But do go and have a look on there, or do subscribe to it, and then when I put stuff on, I will send a message out to everybody. So if there's any goddesses you'd like me to have to discuss with you, please let me know. If there's any tombs that you'd like to go and have a look around, do have a look. Just let me know, because I've probably got it on video somewhere, and we can have a bit of a look around those tombs too. But that, my lovelies, is it for me this evening. You're very, very welcome. Thank you so much for coming along. As I said, if you can buy me a coffee, that would be absolutely amazing. It does help an awful lot to keep the channel going, and all the hours of research and preparation that I put into these tours as well. So thank you so much in advance for that. It would be a good idea to scan all the tombs in 3D to preserve them. I totally agree, John. And this is why every time I go into a museum, I take video and I take lots of pictures and then put it on YouTube, because then people can see it as it was. So if anything does happen to it, we always have a record, right? Because records are really important. So thank you very much. Thank you so much for coming with me this evening. It's been my absolute pleasure. My name's been Lesley Hammam, and I have had a wonderful time with you guys this evening. Again, thank you so much. For those of you that are in places which are a little bit dangerous at the moment, please stay safe out there, and I will see you all again this time next week. Until then, behave yourselves, be good to each other, and stay safe. Until then, take care.